Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, verse 62, and the chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will start with the invocation prayers and we will go right into the verses. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jayom Vishupad Paramhamsa Parigvaracharya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parigvaracharya Stotra Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Dutta Swami Namani. Namaste Krishna Padaya. Praplashitatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Dutta Namani. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Vani Pracharni Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we will be studying and discussing Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, verse 62. We will try to cover up to 65 because Srila Prabhupada actually commented in the purport on the same Bhagavatam verse. So we will do our best to cover it. I will chant the verse 3 times for verse 62, and I request the devotees to chant after me. And I will read all the verses, and then we will comment on that. Ematinana rupa kare purva paksha tahare nirjite bhagavata padya daksha. Ematinana rupa kare purva paksha tahare nirjite Bhagavata Padya Daksha Ematinana Rupa Kare Purva Paksha Na Tahare Nirjite Bhagavata Padya Daksha. Devotees can chant, please.
Ematenana rupa kare paksha tahare lejite bhagavata padya daksha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to try?
Ematenana rupa kare purva paksha tahare nirjita bhagavata padya daksha.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to try? Okay, so we will go for the word-for-word translation, and then we'll go into the other verses. Emate, thus, nana, many, rupa, forms, kare, takes, purvapaksha, the objections, tahare, them, nirjite, overcoming, bhagavata, of Srimad Bhagavatam, padya, poetry, daksha, expert. Srila Prabhupada's translation. In this way, the arguments appear in various forms, but the poetry of the Bhagavatam expertly refutes them all. Padantita tadva vidas tatvam yakyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyate. Srila Prabhupada's purport and translation. Learned Transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge, and it is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. Purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, verse 64. Sunabai ekashloka karaha vichara ekamukya tattva tina tahara prachara. Srila Prabhupada's translation. My dear brothers, kindly listen to the explanation of this verse and consider its meaning. The one original entity is known in his 3 different features. Text 65. Advaya jnana tattva vastu krishnera swarupa Brahma atma bhagavantina tandra rupa. Srila Prabhupada's purport and translation. Lord Krishna himself is the one undivided absolute truth, the ultimate reality. He manifests himself in 3 features as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, cited above, Bhagavatam 1-11, the principal word Bhagavan indicates the personality of Godhead, and Brahman and Paramatma are concomitants deduced from the absolute personality as a government, and its ministers are deductions from the supreme executive head. In other words, the principal truth is exhibited in three different phases. The absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, is also known as Brahman and Paramatma, although all these features are identical. Om Ganati Mirandyasa Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshur Onmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here in this chapter is describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. We know that the Lord appeared in the golden form as Radha Krishna some 540 years ago. And here, this whole chapter is describing, and as we go along, we will hear more of the discussion and the conversations. But as up to where we have gotten up to now, it's describing Lord Krishna to be the ultimate fountainhead, the source of all expansions, beginning from Narayan to Mahavishnu, to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, to Shuradakshaya Vishnu, and it went on to the four other expansions, like it really went into somewhat of a detail. So here, in the past few verses, it talks about Lord Brahma's glorification of the Lord after he has offended the Lord by stealing the calves and the cowherd boys. So here Lord Brahma is glorifying the magnificence of the Lord, his expansions. He is dwelling as a super soul in each and every living being. And Lord Brahma is begging forgiveness from the Lord, saying that, parents never take offenses of the children. We've heard this few verses before, probably about 2-3 weeks before, where Lord Brahma is telling Krishna, just as a parent that doesn't take offenses of the children seriously, so Lord, please forgive me. Then the Lord is telling Lord Krishna is telling Brahma that Lord Narayan is your father, and we know why, because Lord Brahma was born from the navel. And so Lord Krishna is telling Lord Brahma, but Lord Narayan is your father. I'm not your father. After hearing this, Lord Brahma states many, many proofs. And this is one of the many proofs that's coming to an end. That that Narayan is from Lord Krishna. As we all know, if we remember the Goloka chart, and if we do not have the Goloka chart, it's very simple to find it on Google. But if we look at the Goloka chart, the topmost and the utmost, the fountainhead and the reservoir, the ultimate head is Sri Krishna himself. So Lord Brahma is stating many proofs that Narayan is from Lord Krishna, and Krishna is the fountainhead. And all living beings come from the Lord. The Lord manifests in the form of super soul in the heart of every living being. He's the ultimate cause of everything. Everything comes from him and everything ends from him. And the Lord is above all the three modes of material nature. If we remember, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada described that the Lord is in the fourth dimension. And what is the fourth dimension? The transcendental platform, Goloka Vrindavan. Even though the three modes are there, the three dimensions are there, but Lord Krishna is not touched or affected by any of the three modes, because he's at the fourth dimension, which is the transcendental platform, which is Goloka Vrindavan. So here, this chapter, Lord Brahma, these many verses, Lord Brahma is praising Lord Krishna and saying, the same Govinda is appearing as Lord Chaitanya. So of all the arguments that Lord Brahma has put forth before Lord Krishna in all the verses, Lord Brahma is saying, no matter how mundane how much the mundane philosophers, the Mayavadis, the so-called spiritualists, they try to argue the existence of the Lord, they all are getting defeated. In fact, they're all defeated. And here it ends beautifully where the translation says, all their arguments have been defeated by the poetry of Bhagavatam. So we ask ourselves, why is Srila Prabhupada using the word poetry, padya, poetry? Interestingly, right? Why is Bhagavatam referred to as poetry? Well, if we try to understand the language of poetry and metaphor, poetry is the language of emotion and love. I remember when I was in high school, we had to take English literature, and I never liked it. That's such a boring subject for me. It was all poetry and prose, poems. I remember learning Shakespeare and Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, Pride and Prejudice, all this poetry, English literature. And if we remember, I don't know how many of you took any of the subjects in school, but the language was very poetic and flowery. The words chosen were chosen so carefully by the author that it exuded emotion and love. I remember, even though I never liked English literature when I was in high school, and it used to put me to sleep because it was poetic, but I remember that the chosen words were very flowery and poetic. So I'm glad you do, Mamina. Someone does, but I apologize. My kids are getting ready to school and they're shouting back and forth here. Yes, so language of poetry is a language of emotion and love. And we see emotions and love in Srimad Bhagavatam, if you think about it. The words chosen by Srila Prabhupada is very carefully chosen. That is the reason why we are so attached to listening to Bhagavatam every morning. If you see, the few of us come on every morning, and just this handful of us make it a point to join the classes every morning because it is catching us. What's next? What's next? What's next? Right? It's catching our attention. It's attracting us to want to hear more and more. Why? Because the explanation, the purport and the translation that Srila Prabhupada is explaining here, the words are chosen with emotion and love. Very, very much so. And if we really study Srila Prabhupada's purports, like we mentioned earlier, we see how Srila Prabhupada chooses certain words very carefully, and they are with emotion and art. It's an art, actually. Poetry is an art. So here, the whole Bhagavatam is so poetically written. It's the literally incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, that we want to hear more and more and more of the poetry of Bhagavatam, because anything, if we think about movie songs, it's all about emotions and love, right? Whatever movie it may be, whether it's American, whether it's whether it's Chinese, whether it's Indian, it doesn't matter. It's all about emotion and love, and some of us, many of us, or all of us, we still remember the old movie songs, or new, or whatever. We remember the movie songs. Why? Because it has caught our heart with emotion and love, because the movie songs are all about emotion and love. So in that same way, and the reason we remember the movie songs is because it caught our attention, it attracted us. So in the same way, Bhagavatam is poetically filled with emotion and love that we want to hear. What's more, what's more, what's more. Srila Prabhupada is attracting us. Srila Prabhupada is catching our attention. He's choosing the right words with caution to help us think and meditate. That's poetry. So here, so beautifully, it's explained, right? That Lord Brahma said that all the mundane philosophers and the so-called philosophers and the Mayavadis were all defeated by the poetry of Bhagavatam. Poetry of Bhagavatam. So in the next verse, Srila Prabhupada addresses Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 11, which we have already finished, probably 2 years, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. So here Srila Prabhupada says, learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge, and it is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. So let's redefine what is non-dual knowledge. So let's first define the word non-dual. So non-dual actually means the person and the name are the same. No difference. The person and the name are the same. And just bear with me for 1 second. And so we have heard this from our speakers in classes, right? Krishna, the person, and Srimad Bhagavatam. And we've been told that Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, non-dual. Krishna, the person, and the Bhagavatam, it's non-different. Krishna, the worshipable deity, the Murti, and the Bhagavatam is non-different. Krishna, the person, and the Mahamantra is non-different, non-dual. Krishna, the person, and devotional service is non-different. It's non-dual. So here, when we put the word non-dual and knowledge together, it means the knowledge that Krishna, the person, and the name is one and the same. Krishna, the person, and the Paramatma is one and the same. It's all its expansions. He's expanding himself. He can expand himself wherever he wants. It's his choice. You know, today we use the word clone, right? He can expand himself anywhere, everywhere, wherever he wants. It's his choice. He's the Supreme Lord. So he has expanded himself. And if we understand that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can expand himself anywhere, everywhere, however, whenever, that is the absolute truth. And if we can understand that Krishna, the person, and the holy name is not different. Krishna, the deity form and devotional service is not different. If we think about the acharyas, you know, I am still in the middle of reading this Glories of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Very, very captivating. And they were traveling with the translation and the books of the holy books of, you know, in bullock carts, manuscripts, that's the word, manuscripts of the scriptures. They didn't carry with them any deity of the Lord. They did not carry, you know, Radha Krishna deity. They did not carry Gonitai deity. They did not carry any deity. They were only carrying the manuscripts of the spiritual knowledge because that was their deity. They were the learned transcendentalists. So here we have so many examples. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, sitting in the forest, uneducated. Now remember, he was uneducated, completely uneducated, illiterate. But he believed 10%, 100%, without fail, that chanting of the holy name and the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotional service and the deity of the Lord is none different. So here Srila Prabhupada used a very key word, learned transcendentalist. So who are the learned transcendentalists? Srila Prabhupada mentions there are 3 types of transcendentalists: the Gyanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. The Gyanis are the impersonalists, the philosophers, They know the knowledge, but they don't practice it. We see a lot of that, right? That's the saying, walk your talk, practice what you preach. We know the knowledge, but we don't walk the talk. We know the knowledge, but we don't preach. We don't practice it. We know the knowledge, but we said, okay, I know it, but that's just knowledge. I don't have to work on it. Imagine if we go to school, we know the math, and we do not apply it in our job. The assignment given to us on our job is going to be a flop, right? Why do people go to school? Why do kids go to school? Why do we go to college? Why do we finish high school? Why do we finish college? Because we need the preparatory knowledge. We need the foundation. We need the understanding to be able to apply it in the practical world. If not, 1 + 1 is going to be 3. Because we will not know if 1 + 1 is 2, had we not gone to school. And imagine if 1 + 1 was 3. Oh my Lord, that would be chaos in this world. So in the same way, Gyanis are impersonalists. They know the laws, but they don't practice it. Yogis are the meditators. They just meditate, and they don't do anything. They just sit and have wishful thinking. Oh, it's so nice. Meditation is nothing wrong with meditation. It's one of the transcendentalists. But it's very difficult to understand the Lord without being a bhakta. So let's just say that a man and a woman coming together. Before they come together, they want to know about each other, right? So a man wants to know about a woman to find out, who is she? What is she? Where is she from? He has all the knowledge. Or the woman wants to know about a man. Where is he from? How old is he? What's his name? What's his height? What's his degree? What does he speak? What does he like? What does he eat? Blah, 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 all that stuff, right? We know the knowledge, but we don't move forward. We just, okay, I know this person. Okay, good. Does that help us build a relationship with the person? Of course not. If I were to know all my husband's, his background, who is he, what is he, where is he from, what does he do, all the good stuff, but I do not have any relationship with my husband, there's no relationship. It's just jnani, it's just knowledge. Now, yogis are the meditators. So if I know about my husband, okay, I know all about him before, of course, this I'm talking about before I even married him, right? I know all about him. Then I meditate. Oh, Parikshit is this. He did this. He's this, he does this. This is his background. He's from here. And I just meditate on that, on all the knowledge. Can I build a relationship? No. It's only on the bhakta level that we can build a relationship. So after I know and I meditate, they call la la land, right? Oh, we know you're in love, and we just dream and fantasize, right? So from there, then we have to know the person practically, in person, not Zoom, in person, right? That's how we get full experience to know the person. That's how we get full experience. Oh, so all the knowledge that I got, that I know about my husband, and all that I have, is who is this person in front of me physically? And what I thought I was meditating and fantasizing, it's not who the person I thought was. Right? Oh, it may be. So Sri Prabhupada says, if we want to have full experience, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 2, Sri Prabhupada says, if we want to have full experience, the Bhaktas are the topmost transcendentalists. And why do you think the Bhaktas are the topmost? I would like to ask any one of you, just to know that we are awake. Why do you think the Bhaktas are the topmost transcendentalist? Any answers? There's no right, no wrong. Knock, knock. Yes, Varsha, please go ahead.
Krishna Mataji, I think they are very close to Lord Krishna.
Yes, because they are applying, they are serving.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Dara Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble messages.
I accept mine.
Yeah, one of the reasons could be because devotees are engaged in active devotional service. So both the knowledge as well as the practical implementation.
Exactly. That is why the Bhaktas are topmost, because we take the knowledge and we apply, just like in a job, right? We go to school for 12 years, then we do 4 years of bachelor's. Then if we do master, okay, find 1 more year, so make it like 12 plus 5, about 16, 17 years in school. Can you imagine that we all went to 16 years of school? Hare Krishna, almost 1/3 of the life is gone, right? But anyway, 1/4. But yeah, so exactly. So just like in school, we spend so many years getting the knowledge and applying it practically in that same way. Yes, you're right there, Krishna. Is we get all the knowledge and we apply it in devotional service. It's only at the bhakta level can we experience the full experience of the non-dual knowledge, as Sri Prabhupada is mentioning here, because we are going to take all the knowledge and apply it practically. And the only way is devotional service, because like Sri Prabhupada says, non-dual knowledge is Krishna the person, Krishna the deity form is none different than his knowledge, which is devotional service. Even studying his books, the Bhagavatam, is none different from the deity of the Lord himself. So here, in reference, so here Sri Prabhupada is again quoting, if we go to the next verse, 264, again, my dear brothers, kindly listen to the explanation of this verse. He's referring to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 11. And consider its meaning. The one original entity is known as 3 different features. And then Sri Prabhupada mentions and cites Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 11. And so nicely, there is a beautiful transcription, lecture transcription of Sri Prabhupada, where he's literally speaking on this verse, Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 11. And this verse is talking about attachment to this material world. It's talking about what is the purpose of our life? What is the purpose? What is the goal of our life? Why, we are stuck in this material world. How do we get out? Right? So here, Sri Prabhupada is saying, if only we understand that the Lord is undivided, the Lord is one, He is undivided, but he can manifest himself in any shape, form, and manner as he pleases. If we understand that, then we'll understand the purpose of our life. Srila Prabhupada in this verse 1 to 11, he talks a lot about attachments. And if you get a chance, I would encourage devotees to hear Prabhupada's lecture transcription on prabhupadvani.org. He gives a lot of examples and analogies on attachment. But the basic point is attachments are very strong and long binding. Very strong. Because why? Because we are carrying not this lifetime attachments. We're carrying many lifetimes of attachments, and we got to shed them. We got to shed them. We got to drop it off. We got to shed them. Attachments lead to greed, envy, and unwanted desires. It really does. If you think about it, I want this. I want to, I want to earn this much money. I want to get this kind of job. I want to get this much money. I want to be I want to be a tycoon businessman. I have to have this myth house, all kinds of stuff. Attachments. The more we say, I want, the more we are getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in our attachments. And it's very hard to get out of it. It's very hard to get out of it because attachments lead to greed, envy, and unwanted desires. It's all about me. I want it because I deserve it, because I need it. Greed. As soon as we say I want, and especially when we say because I deserve it, it's greed. We don't even know whether we even deserve to wake up the next morning. Padam padam yat vipadam. Every step there's danger. Deserve what? What do we deserve? If anything, this body should be used in the service of the Lord. That is more deserving than anything else. That we use this body, mind, intelligence in service to the Lord. That is most deserving. Proper use of this body that was given to us, because 8,400,000 species, I don't even know how many lifetimes I've gone through it. I just don't even want to know because I think it's going to freak me out. It's going to be very scary. But by the mercy of whatever I did in my last lives, I got a human body. So the goal of life is, what is my purpose? Why am I have this human body. What is the real purpose of civilization? Prabhupada says, if we really want to know what is the real purpose of civilization, then we have to start inquiring, right? One of the 6 loving exchanges by Srila Rupa Goswami is submissive inquiry and inquiring confidentially, and forgot the 6th one. Probably one of you can help me. Krishna. Krishna, do you know which one it is? I think I'm mixing it up.
Is it from Nectar of Instruction?
Yes, the 6 loving exchange. Yes.
The exchange of the receiving and giving the gifts.
And then prasadam. And the last 2 is, one is inquiring confidentially and...
Yeah, one inquiring confidentially and confiding in others also.
Confiding, that's the word, confiding. Thank you. Yes. So that is the goal of life. The goal of life is confiding in a person and inquiring the purpose of our lives. Why? That is real civilization. Srila Prabhupada said, if we want to enjoy a little bit, that's that. Actually, if you read that transcription, Srila Prabhupada says, if you want to enjoy some enjoyment, okay, that's all right, he says. Only for some time. But the real business is inquiring about the purpose of our life. the absolute truth. And he says, life is meant for learning and understanding the absolute truth. We have given this body yat, padam padam yat vipadam, right? We have given this body human form of life. At the same time, we also know that every step there's danger. And at the same time, we also know that we live in this crazy material world where we are bombarded, being misled by all kinds of frustration, anger, attachment, what have you, right? What is the purpose of our life? Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, there is no institution that teaches the absolute truth except Krishna consciousness. If you think about it, there are a lot of institutions to help us know who we are on a material platform, but not on a spiritual platform. Like I was watching Mahabharata, and when you watch on YouTube, they bring up this in-between ads. So now there's this new organization called betterhelp.org. And every time I see that, I said, wow, we have gotten to this stage in Kali Yuga. And the question that is asked by the person in that ad is, what do I want? And the same person answers, I want to know myself. What better way to know ourselves than Krishna consciousness? That we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Everything comes and ends from, with him. And what is the purpose of our life? No institution is going to teach us the absolute necessity of human being except Krishna consciousness. In fact, it is this movement that is a very nice, and I forgot which lecture, but it's by Prabhupada. Prabhupada says that the Krishna conscious movement is an all-rounded organization. It teaches us social life, it teaches us material life, it teaches us Krishna consciousness, it teaches us psychology, it gives us counseling, it teaches how to raise a family, it teaches how to manage money, everything. Everything. It's a complete all-rounded organization. So other institutions are misleading the current generation and getting them more and more stuck and more frustrated. If you look into today's times, especially after COVID, the rise in mental health is astronomically high. There are a lot of people out there who want to know, why am I in this? Like yesterday, I was watching some news with my husband. It's really pathetically sad. It was some guy in California stole a police car, an unmarked police car, and was having a car chase or whatever you call it. And finally, the cops caught up with him on a highway and pulled him over. And he was asked to come out of the car, and he was asked to lay on the road. What life is that? I was telling my husband, what life? Why do these criminals think they're going to get away with it? They get caught and they are told to lie on the highway, flat on the face. Pathetic life, right? Pathetic life. I mean, it's so sad. It's really sad where Kali Yuga has gotten to. And the sad thing is, it is only 500 something years and we have, I don't know, how many more years to go. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So here, it's very important that when life goes haywire, we inquire. Confide in a trusted person and inquire submissively. How do I get out of this bondage? And we should ask, why is this happening to me? And we should go to the right person to get the right answer. Not ask anybody and everybody. Because not everybody and everybody has the right answer. We got to go to the right person. we cannot ignore the question and figure out life on our own. We need someone to lean on. That is the reason why in the Nectar of Instruction, one of the 6 loving exchanges is confiding. Srila Rupa Goswami did not say, figure it on your own. The last 2, right? Inquire submissively and confide. We have to confide in a person, a human being, not in a, I know now it's always google.com and Pinterest and webmd.com, you know. Go to a person. Srila Rupa Goswami said clearly, confide in a person, confide and inquire. It's very important that we understand that we need, that not everything in life we can figure out on our own. We gotta confide. So we live in this prison house with invisible prison walls. And we are faced by the 3 miserable, 3 kinds of miseries, right? Adi Mitka, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. And, you know, again, in that beautiful lecture by Srila Prabhupada, 1-11, Srila Prabhupada says that these 3 miseries were absent during the reign of Lord Ram and Maharaj Yudhisthira. Can you imagine that? So when Lord Ram was reigning, was king, and when Maharaj Yudhisthira was the king, there was the 3 miseries were non-existent. Now look at us. Daily. Now, what are the 3 miseries? Miseries inflicted by the body and the mind. We go through that. Adiyatmika, right? We every day we go through it. I go through it. My body crack, my leg cramps, my back, my head, headaches, this, that. You know, we go through it every day. And Adibhotika, those inflicted by other living entities, you know, mosquito bites, what do you call it? Night flies, right? Gnats, animals. Every day we go through that. And Adidaivika, natural disturbances, snow, rain, ice, sleet. We go through that, right? We go through all these miseries every day. Still we forget we're in the prison house. Why? Because we adjust. Okay. So what we do is we adjust with the situation to make it better. But are we adjusting to make it better for a minute or for a lifetime? And this is where the temporary happiness and the spiritual happiness comes to place. Because when we adjust with the 3 miseries, it's only temporary happiness. It is not permanent happiness. Because permanent happiness is spiritual happiness. And on Tuesday morning, when Balabhadra Prabhu was giving class, was it Tuesday morning? I'm trying to think. Sorry. Wednesday night, when he was reading the Bhagavad Gita circle in chapter 14, Srila Prabhupada very nicely said in the purport, spiritual happiness and devotional service they go hand in hand. So if we really want to experience permanent spiritual happiness, the answer is devotional service. And where do we find devotional service? In Krishna consciousness, because it is only in Krishna consciousness that we can find and inquire the value of life, the purpose of life, and the goal of life, which gives us permanent happiness, which is spiritual happiness. Because anytime we try to adjust with the 3 miseries, it's only temporary. Next day will start again. If we adjust anything, it's only for a day. Next day will start again. One of the 3 miseries will start again. I know for me, I go through it every day. Leg cramp, this cramp, headache, this, that, can bend, whatever. It's a daily process. I'll take some medicine. It'll stop for about 6, 7, 8 hours. Again, start back up again. Temporary happiness. Where spiritual happiness is permanent. So here, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us how important it is to be a topmost Transcendentalist, which is the Bhakta level. Because it's only at that level that we can apply the knowledge that we have learned and received and heard in practicality to really experience spiritual happiness. And spiritual happiness, the solution is Krishna consciousness. Once we learn that Krishna is the absolute truth, he can manifest, he can expand, and do whatever he wants. So this was my realization, and majority of what I have shared is completely from Srila Prabhupada's lecture, 1 to 11, completely from his transcription. And all I can do is repeat what the founder Acharya said. So this was my thoughts that I got from his lecture, my realizations. And I thank you for allowing me to speak and share. Would like to ask devotees if any questions, any comments. I would love to hear a takeaway, a realization, please. You can jump right in, or you can raise your hand, or you can put a post in the chat, and I'll be very happy to read it. Any comments, any takeaways, any food for thought that I can learn from your reflection and realization? Yes, Mamina, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All
Jai,
glories
accept mine,
to
August
you.
Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. What a beautiful class. What a beautiful class today. I loved every bit of it. Every bit of it.
Prabhupada's mercy, Guru's mercy, the mercy of the devotees. Thank you.
It's so, so beautiful. I could relate to everything that you were talking about.
Because I'm going through it.
It's so nice and so realistic that we go through every day.
Yeah.
So many things that touched my heart and made me more awake and aware.
Yes.
Yeah, there was something I was supposed to say. Yeah, like you were asking about bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
What do you understand by bhakti?
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, His Holiness Chandramauli's on his class, he was saying about, somebody asked, should we chant with somebody, or should we chant with any audio or video or something?
Yes.
I don't know. And then he said, no. He said, no, you can do that, but it's always nice to hear your voice.
Yes.
And when you were talking about bhakti, I would like to share my reflection, like when I'm chanting, before, sometimes I play Srila Prabhupada's chanting and then I chant with that.
Mm-hmm.
But at times I chant myself and I listen to myself. And I can listen to the misery that my tone speaks out to me so loudly that I'm so lonely and so miserable that I need your help. I need you all the time.
It's very interesting you're saying that, Mamina, because as you were speaking, I remember there's a class given that we have to chant like a child crying to the mother. Beautifully said. Absolutely.
I have gone through that. I mean, the moment I stop the audio and I try to chant myself just for a little bit, not even for a minute, in that short span of time, I realize how miserable I am.
Yeah.
And how helpless I am. And how much I need Krishna. How much I need. There's no end to that. There's no end to that.
100% agree.
And when I go through my misery and the way I cry when I'm chanting, I mean, that fulfills my heart, some way, like, okay, maybe this was the most purposeful time for me, in my life, for today.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
No,
and the
it's such
rest
a
of
good
the
point.
day I can just relax and
Mhm.
calm myself, like, okay, I know someone is there, someone is listening to me.
That is such a nice realization, Mamina. Thank you so much for sharing. As you were speaking, I was remembering how for me, and this was by the help of Vrindavaneshwari Radhika in Philadelphia, and it really, really resonated with me, and it really changed my whole aspect. That's one thing I've learned about devotional life is every day we're learning something new, whether we have been practicing for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years. Even if you ask a 50-year a devotee who have been practicing for 50 years, proper disciples, they will tell you, oh, I learned something new today, because there is never an end to learning. That's one thing I've learned. There's never an end to learning something new. And what I learned over the past 3 years, 2-3 years, is chanting in the mornings, or whenever I chant my japa, it is my spiritual date with the Lord. So that adds more meaning, like I'm having a date with Krishna, with my japa. So I always, especially in the mornings, I try to finish at least half my rounds or more in the mornings. But in the mornings, I always go downstairs to the living room. It's just me over there, and it's just quiet, and I have pictures, and it's like, okay, Krishna, let's have a date, and I chant, because it really makes me feel like when I'm chanting with the Lord, and I'm chanting the holy name, and Krishna said, and Prabhupada says, when we're chanting the holy name, Krishna is dancing on our tongue. So that is a date with the Lord. So that really helps me also to check my mind when it starts, and my mind wanders, this is Kali Yuga. I'll bring it back as, okay, Krishna, let's continue our date. I'll wander away. Okay, let's continue our date, but yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a very nice realization that from Chandramani Swami's class, how important it is that we chant and we hear ourselves, we hear our voice, that, oh, we are chanting and pronouncing that mantra clearly. That's when the Lord wants to know, is she calling me? Is she calling me? Is he calling me? Oh, and Mother Gita always says that point a lot, like when we call Krishna, we want him to look at us, not that I say, oh, Vrinda, and then, and I'm looking at someone else and calling my daughter. But so that was a nice point. Thank you, Mamina. Thank you. Jit Mitra has a very nice point. He says, Mataji, I like the point that meditation alone cannot give us perfection. We need to be bhaktas and perform devotional service to get perfection. Yes, Jit Mitra. And that is coming straight from the founder Acharya, not even from me. Like I said, I literally am repeating what the founder Acharya says. He says the topmost transcendentalist is a bhakta. And because we get to perform devotional service to get perfection. And we have so many examples in our lives. All our spiritual masters have that opportunity. I mean, look at Jayapataka Swami. It just amazes me. He's living on 12 years or more of borrowed time, waiting for the Mayapur project to complete. And why? He's engaged in devotional service by making sure that is complete, because that is the highest transcendentalist, is to be a bhakta. So Gyanis know, yogis know, it's bhaktas. That is the highest. So even if you think about the gopis in Vrindavan, none of them are Gyanis or yogis. They're bhaktas. They're always performing service for the Lord. There's, I got to get the garland. I got to do this. Let me prepare the kunj. Let me go cook. They're always in 24/7 devotional service. Always, always, always. So yes, thank you for sharing that point, Jit Mitra. Thank you. Yes, Dar Krishna. Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mati. Thank you for this really amazing class, because lot of practical points. And the more I was hearing, it amazed me how practical Srila Prabhupada was in this devotional practice. Hopefully, I will be able to express myself properly. I mean, that's why, I mean, no doubt he's an acharya, because it's just not the theory, but he gave us the practical. Because the point that you were discussing again and again, very important point about the importance of inquiring submissively and confiding in devotees. This is so important, very, very important. I mean, I can vouch for that point personally, how it can help you sustain in the devotional path, and how it can help you, just going through everything uh, once you really start getting more and more sincere. Because a lot of things will happen, and unless we have at least one or two senior devotees whom you can confide in and get help, it's very difficult path otherwise. And once we are able to confide, it becomes a very, very joyful, just like parents carrying the baby on their shoulder. So such an important point from Nectar of Instruction, and thank you for emphasizing on that and reminding me as well that how important it is to have those kind of relationship. And the reason I was appreciating even more Srila Prabhupada with this point is, that's why actually one of the biggest reason he built the whole society, so that we can develop those kind of relationship. Of course, we cannot have, due to our conditioning, we will not have all those loving relationship, very close relationship with everybody. But we have so many options we can always develop. It's a two-way exchange always. So just wanted to express this. Thank you for reminding. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful point, Prabhu. As you were speaking, I was even remembering, like even when you have to raise children, right? And again, I remember my husband's, one of his friend back in DC many years ago told my husband, wait till the kids get older, it gets more difficult. And at the time, my kids were babies. To me, that was difficult. Like when they were babies and, crying and, fussing and, all that kind of stuff as they were growing older. But now I see, in fact, I told my husband 2-3 times, I said, your friend was right. When they get older, it becomes more difficult. And that's when we need more people. My daughter does this, my son does this, is this okay? We need to confide in someone who's gone through that stage in life to get support and inquire. You're right there, Krishna. And it's so true that the one point you made that I really agree with you is, as we progress in Krishna consciousness, we are going to be faced with challenges. It's not going to get easy, because Krishna wants to know, are you really going to deal with me? Do you really want me? Are you ready for all the challenges? Because this is the test of faith, right? And that's when we need people. We need devotees, the right devotees who have gone through that stage, not like someone who just joined the movement and we go and ask them, I'm going through this, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So we need to go to somebody who has gone through that stage, who has experienced that, who has come out of it, or who has dealt with it very nicely. Because you're right, we are going to go through the stages. We are. It's not like a closed shop situation. We're going to face through. So that the point that you mentioned about, we are going to continue having those different challenges, and we got to find the right person. That's the key point, because sometimes we think it finishes, it ends, and we're done. No, that's not the case. It's so important that we have devotees, trusted devotees, that we can confide and inquire. So important. In fact, and we'll end with this, but Balabhadra Prabhu said that he reaches out to 5, 6, 7, almost sometimes 7 or 8, he says, of his God brothers and God sisters, when he has to when he goes through his own confiding and submissive inquiry, he goes through 2, 3, at least, he named few names, and they all added up to like 5 or 6 to me. So the proper disciples are showing us the right way to live Krishna consciousness, the right way to live the 6 loving exchanges given by Srila Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Instruction. And we just got to follow their footsteps. We can't copy paste. It's actually, we can imitate, but we just got to follow the example. Thank you for bringing that up there, Krishna. Very, very good point. Very good point. Thank you. And we are past the hour, so just a very quick announcement. This evening, we have our Bhagavad Gita Circle reading program, continuing with chapter 14, verse 26. Chapter is entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. Please do join us at 6 o'clock. Until then, thank you so much for sharing your realizations and your points and your takeaways. I learned and benefited from it. Believe me, I did. And until then, until this evening, Vanchakapdibhyascha, Kripasindhaveva, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful day, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.